when the end isn't truly the end. Some deaths shake the world. Others break the soul without making a sound. When Kratos plunged the blade of Olympus into his own father, Zeus, the almighty king of the gods, it wasn't just the end of a revenge-fueled journey. It was the beginning of a silence more deafening than war. I killed my father, and the price wasn't freedom. It was emptiness. No more Olympus. No more gods. No more enemies to slay. Only Kratos, drenched in blood, left to face his final foe, himself. In today's video, we dive deep into Kratos' inner transformation after Zeus's death. From blind rage to unbearable regret. From the slayer of gods to a father haunted by the monster he once was. And finally, from destroyer of worlds to protector of a boy in a strange, unfamiliar land, the Norse realms. This isn't just the story of a game character. It's the story of a broken soul searching for a path to redemption. Let us begin with the first chapter. The cost of vengeance, when killing Zeus didn't kill the pain. The price of vengeance, when killing Zeus didn't kill the pain. The moment it all ended. Zeus, the almighty king of the gods, the cold-hearted father who betrayed, hunted, and tore Kratos' soul apart, finally knelt. The blade of Olympus pierced his chest beneath a shattered sky. Thunder cracked, as if screaming out the last of Kratos' rage. Kratos had won, but in that moment, he did not roar in triumph. He simply breathed, heavy, hollow, because there was nothing left to rage against. I killed him, so why does it still hurt? Killing Zeus didn't kill the memories. Kratos once believed his enemies were the gods themselves. Zeus, Athena, Hades, Hermes, those who destroyed his family, deceived him, used him like a pawn on a divine chessboard. But when they had all fallen, Kratos was left with a truth more terrifying than any god. His greatest enemy was himself. No divine death, not even Zeus's, could wash away the blood of Lysandra and Calliope. No mountain stood high enough to bury the memory of his wife and child, dying by his own hands. I've cut, I've burned, I've shattered this world into pieces. But I cannot break the guilt inside my heart. The void after destruction. With Zeus's fall, Olympus collapsed. The earth split. The sea screamed. The sky burned. And Kratos simply sat there. The blade of Olympus slipped from his hand. His eyes stared into nothing. It was the look of a man with no reason left to live. No more war. No more targets. No more hatred large enough to fuel the rage that once carried him through death after death. So Kratos turned the blade on himself, plunged it into his own chest. His final act of punishment. But he didn't die, because not even death would take a soul this heavy. How does someone like Kratos go on living? Somehow, Kratos vanished from the Greek world. No one knows how. But when a new world dawned in the north, Kratos was still alive. No more red tattoos. No more blades of chaos shackled to his wrists. Now he wore a beard. He walked in silence. He hunted. He parented. He was trying to start over. From avenger to the ashes of regret. But the greatest change was not in his armor. It was in his eyes. The rage was gone. What remained was sorrow. I killed my father. And now, I am a father. And the most painful question of all began to rise. Will Kratos become another Zeus? Will he pass on the same blood-soaked legacy he once vowed to destroy? Kratos and Atreus, a father carrying the shadows of a fallen era. Atreus, a spark of life in the ashes. The Norse saga didn't begin with a sword. It began with ashes. The ashes of Faye, Kratos' wife, Atreus' mother. The only person who ever made him lay down his blades and choose a quiet life in the deep woods. Before she died, she left one final wish. Scatter my ashes from the highest peak in all the 9 realms. No war, no bloodshed, just a promise. But for Kratos, that promise began a journey more difficult than any battle he had ever fought. Teaching his son how to be human. The awkward father, a man who never learned to be one. Kratos didn't know how to say, "I'm proud of you." He didn't know how to hold his son. He didn't know how to teach love, because he had once killed everyone he ever loved. He spoke little, only in commands. You're not ready. Silence. Don't be careless. To Atreus, it was cold, confusing, even painful. But to Kratos, it was the only way he knew to protect his boy from a world that once devoured him whole. Kratos' true fear wasn't Odin. It was his own bloodline. Kratos never feared Odin, nor Thor, nor any god who ruled the 9 realms. What he feared was seeing Atreus become like him. When his son grew angry, when he smiled at the death of an enemy, when he raised his weapon and forgot why he was fighting, Kratos saw his own reflection, the god-killer, the destroyer of Olympus, the man who slaughtered his own father. And though he never said it aloud, he swore, "I will not let that cycle repeat. Not again." The blades of chaos, shackles that never truly leave. At a breaking point in their journey, Kratos was forced to return to an old, hidden home, to reclaim the weapons that once defined him, the blades of chaos. His hands trembled, not from fear of death, but from the fear that Atreus would see the monster he used to be. The moment Kratos took up the blades again was one of quiet devastation. No war drums, no epic music, just cold wind, shaking hands, and memories sharp as steel. In that silence, Kratos understood. The past cannot be buried, but it can be used to protect the future. He taught his son to be a god, but not like him. In the final moments of God of War 2018, Kratos tells Atreus, "I have killed many, so many I lost count. If one day you learn the truth, know this, you don't have to be like me." For the first time, Kratos didn't teach with orders. He taught with confession, not with a sword, but with pain. Kratos, once the nightmare of gods, now uses his own scars to stop his son from becoming the next one. When Kratos had to choose, bury the past or embrace the weight of being human, the past doesn't die, it waits to rise. Kratos could never outrun what he had done. Every scar on his body held a name. Every night's sleep echoed with screams from the hell that was Olympus. And every time Atreus asked, "Who were you, father?" Kratos felt stripped bare by the one soul he couldn't hide from. But eventually, the moment came. The moment when Atreus discovered the truth. The blades of chaos. The gods his father had slain. The reality that Kratos was a god, one who had forsaken his entire world. Atreus didn't need a god, he needed a father. When the truth was revealed, Atreus wasn't angry. He was lost. He began to wonder, would this divine blood make him become another Kratos? But Kratos, for the first time, did not hide. He didn't lie. He didn't shout. He simply said, "We must not let the past decide who we are. It is our choices that define us." In that moment, Kratos was no longer the god of war. He was a father who knew he had failed, and knew he still had the chance to do better. Death wasn't the end, it was a rebirth. In the Norse realms, Kratos no longer fought for vengeance. He fought to protect, not for himself, but for Atreus, for a future shaped not by rage, but by hope. Just as he once climbed Olympus to destroy, now he climbed the peak of Jotunheim, to scatter the ashes of the woman who had taught him love, patience, and forgiveness. And there, at the highest peak of the 9 realms, Kratos looked out at a world larger than he'd ever known. And for the first time, he whispered, "I can still start again." The final transformation, from sinner to guide. Kratos never forgot who he once was, but he no longer let that define him. He didn't demand forgiveness. He didn't beg for redemption. He simply kept walking, a silent mountain moving through the mist. No longer the embodiment of wrath, but a symbol of what it means to rise beyond it. Kratos, a mirror of tragedy healed through love and choice. He once destroyed a world in his fury. Now he teaches his son how to rebuild it. Not with axe, not with sword, not with blood, but by choosing every day to become something better, to become human. Kratos, when a god-killer learned to be human, perhaps in the entire world of gaming. No character carries as much darkness as Kratos. No one has killed more gods. No one has wrought more destruction. But also, no one has changed as much as he has. Kratos began as a betrayed warrior. He became a storm of vengeance, a wrathful force that annihilated an entire pantheon. And then he died, not in the usual sense, but in how he saw himself. Kratos, the invincible god of war, threw away his very identity. And from that pile of ash, a father, a man, a soul capable of regret, was born. Kratos teaches us one thing. You are not forever defined by your past. You may have done wrong. You may have committed unforgivable acts. You may have become something the world fears and despises. But if you choose to live differently, step by step, choice by choice, you can become someone worthy of love, of trust, and most of all, of your own forgiveness. Kratos is not the end. He's the beginning of a new journey. The God of War universe has entered a new chapter. From the blood-soaked lands of Greece to the icy winds of the Norse realms. And Kratos is no longer alone. Beside him walks Atreus. Beside him walks hope. When the destroyer of myth becomes its guardian, this is no longer just a game. It's a lesson, a beautiful tragedy, for anyone who has ever fallen and still wants to rise. Thank you for staying until the very end. If you felt the weight of Kratos' transformation, if you were moved by the pain and strength of a shattered soul, leave a comment below. I am no longer who I was, just like Kratos. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to keep exploring more mythical tragedies and legendary journeys through the world of games together.